All right, we're live. Are we recording for the YouTube?
Yeah, recording for the YouTube.
For the YouTube. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Brandon. I'm the Theatric Dyspraxic. This is Alison.
Hello.
From Ireland. I'm from the United States, and we're going to be conducting a little Q&A. We have a couple of people already joined, so that's pretty cool. So we have some questions. We have some questions that people have submitted us. We're also going to be taking questions. So yeah, but before we get into it, I guess we'll just introduce ourselves a little bit. I am the Theatric Dyspraxic. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about dyspraxia and other things. I have a blog that's at thetheatricdyspraxic.com, and I'm writing a book about my experiences with dyspraxia. I'm from Texas in the United States, and I have always been interested in things like writing. I'm a prolific with screenwriting, lyric writing, short stories. Of course, I'm writing a book and my blog and all that stuff. I also do theater, so that's a big part of my life. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. So take it away, Alison.
Hi, I'm Alison. I'm from Ireland. I'm 20. I just started up my account on Instagram as dyspraxic_me. I work full time in a racing yard, one of the top ones in Ireland. I struggle, but we're going to talk about that later.
Yeah.
What else? I actually got the diagnosis just to talk about it later, but like I found it helpful, and I don't know, I'm nervous. I think everyone should go follow, learn, doing the experiences, comment on their stories, figure out stuff we can talk about. I'm currently on topic every now and then on my page about my experiences. I'm going to add other people's experiences in too. So.
Yeah, I write a bit about my experiences in my blog. I kind of also keep it as sort of like a diary almost, like updates about things going on in my life with and without dyspraxia. And and just so everybody knows, we're not like experts on the condition. We're just two people who just happen to have it. And we're just going to be talking about our experiences. So there's some things that we probably don't have the expertise in, but we can definitely talk about our experiences. So I hope that people enjoy.
Yay.
All right. Do you want to go first? Start with the first question.
So one of the things I got was, what is your main struggle that you have with this?
All right. Do you want to answer first? Or do you want me to answer first?
I'll go first. So my main struggle is keeping my emotions in check, because when I get angry or anything like that, it ends up going into a big pile of nerves, which end up into a panic attack, which end up in having a big anxiety attack. So I figured out different ways, I could walk away from the situation, but I also need to learn how to kind of stand up for myself, because I walk away, I'm just like, no, I'm not dealing with you. I'm not dealing with you. And then I go back later on about it. What I figured out was the anxiety journal is a brilliant help that I have had. There's different things in it that has helped in different situations. I've tried apps. I just don't think they work for me personally. But that doesn't mean it's going to happen for you, like anyone else. One of the struggles is trying to get my point across. If I could try and have a nice conversation with someone, they're like, no, you're not right. I'm not. No, you not. As you guys would know, if you hadn't an argument or anything like that, or trying to make a point about dyspraxia and try and make it across to my co-workers or my managers, because they literally have gone over their heads. But I do have some people in the workplace who have different things. I know a girl has Asperger's in my workplace. I know someone else who's dyslexic. I know people who are like, oh yeah, that happened to me, but they don't think they are, but just little traits I've kind of picked up from watching everyone else's movements. But we kind of stay all together and we kind of try and work it out. And there's a group of us that we'll talk on Snapchat or whatever and try and work out the problems. And then we might go back and to the manager. Someone's like, "Hey, look, can we talk about this conversation we had yesterday?" And then we'll talk it out and sort it out and make sure like everyone's having a good work like environment. And I found that a big help. But I do struggle. Everyone struggles. And I'll probably have something, and during this week I'll have a panic attack or something. I will during this week after this conversation.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you have sort of an inclusive workplace where they hire people who have different conditions and stuff. You know, it seems like a positive thing. Even though these people may not have the same condition as you, they struggle with their own thing, and they kind of, in a way that you kind of understand that at least even if you're not struggling with the same thing, you're struggling together. So I could understand how having those kind of associates would definitely help.
Yeah.
I forgot the question. Oh, yeah, how does dyspraxia affect you the most? So
yeah, like what do you struggle with?
My biggest struggle with dyspraxia is putting my thoughts together and organizing my thoughts and keeping a linear kind of thought process. That's always been a struggle of mine, and it makes it hard to communicate with people because I'll be having a conversation. It's probably going to happen a lot during this, but I'll be having a conversation with somebody and I'll just completely blank in the middle of it, and you requested to be in. Actually see you too.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
See that Irish face and that new hair of yours.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh wow. Let me turn this.
When the Dyspraxics try some.
I'm trying to turn the volume down on Instagram. Can you tell that we're dyspraxic by the way that we handle?
I'll drop me phone.
Anyway, so this is just a typical. This is seeing dyspraxia in action. That's the thing. This is actually a good thing.
I'm sorry, people.
That's just part of being disorganized. My friend says that screen went black. Is anybody else joining us on Instagram having problems seeing us?
I can my one. I can see you. I think that's just me.
I can see both of us, but that's because I'm actually doing it live. Anybody else watching? Can they see?
I'm moving you away a little bit. Is that any helpful?
Do it?
I can't hear. Okay, just keep going. Just keep going.
Oh, Rosemary, I think she can still see and hear us, so I'm sorry to my friend if he cannot join us. Okay. In the middle of a live stream, that's beautiful. We're only getting through one question so far. See, this is one of those things. Things happen, and then I forget what I'm saying, and I forget the question. But basically, thought processing is the most difficult thing for me. Keeping organized. Yeah, just keeping my thoughts organized, trying to convey, like Alison said, just conveying my, what I'm trying to say, like if I'm trying to explain something. It's really hard for me. That's why I don't really get into debates with people a lot, because even if I have, like, the information in my head, it's hard to, like, translate that into speech, into movable action. Obviously, there's also things like that. But the biggest thing, I think, the biggest hindrance is probably just being organized and just keeping up with everything going on. My memory is really bad, so that's the main problem with me.
thought earphones work, apparently not. More dyspraxic thing.
I think that works now. I'm trying to... Lord, I didn't expect this to go this way.
Yeah, it's all right. We're trying, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I have headsets on. I'm gonna have it in our microphone. That's what I have.
Just a typical day in the life of Dyspraxics.
That echo's still working. What's going on? I'm asking the chat. I don't think it is anymore. I think I'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, I turn the in-call volume down on my phone, so I can only hear for the. So I don't know how it sounds to other people, but I'm hoping that people can at least hear us clear enough. So.
Yeah, but I also don't want to cause entry issues for some people in the grid watching.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then I'm like trying to answer the question and like figure, like trying to get everything situated, so it's like making it difficult. It might be my phone. That might be part of the problem too. I have a very crappy phone. Anyway,
I don't know.
So that was the first question. I guess I'll. My friend says screen is. It might just be you. It might just be your phone. I don't know. Not you. My friend. Like the screen keeps going black for him. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. We'll just keep on going. We'll keep plowing. If you can only hear us, that's fine. It might be better that way. Right.
What's your question?
So here's my first, and of course, you know, people who are tuning in, if you have any questions you want to ask us live, then we'll answer that. But the first question this is from Sarah, our good friend Sarah. She asks, how do you cope with self-esteem issues? How do you build your confidence when you hit rock bottom? A lot of people are having issues hearing and seeing us. That's not good for my self-esteem. No, but I'm sorry. We're just really. I'm really bad with technology. Just really bad. But yeah. So self-esteem. So I struggle. I've always struggled, probably since I was like 9, with my self-esteem, and it's still sort of an ongoing problem. And throughout my teen years, it was the worst. You know, I just was always so self-conscious of everything, of every little aspect of everything that I did, my appearance, how I sounded. I was just always just in a fit of just neuroses. I was always neurotic about, you know, my neck is too long, my forearms are too thick. You know, it was always like I was always hung up on just my self-image. Now
I think on your end, Brandon.
Oh man, we probably shouldn't have gone live. I don't know what to do about it. This is not going like I planned it to.
Well, I think we should have done the video recording of this first, and then we're on to this and kind of just do a recap and got questions.
Yeah. Maybe if I move it away from the,
yeah, maybe that would work.
I don't know. It probably won't. We'll see. Oh, we've lost 2 people because of all this. Oh, we gained another one. I can kind of hear the echo. I apologize.
I can just hear it on your end. Yeah, sure, Rosemary. I got my hair cut and bleached, or dyed. I had to. We're going to talk about it later on, but there's an incident and I have to do it. You can find it later on.
So yeah, self-esteem. Well, we'll get into sort of mental health stuff because I did have a question about mental health. But self-esteem issues. How do you build your self-esteem? Well, I think accepting the things that you struggle with and your flaws, I think that's one way. you just have to accept certain things that you cannot change. Yeah, me holding the phone is not making a difference. And we lost another.
Is your sound on the Instagram live? Like, I don't have my sound on, so I can't hear myself talking back to you.
Well,
would that be a problem?
It won't let me turn it down all the way. Let me see what would happen. Well, I probably won't be able to turn it off on my computer. Let's try it. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can barely hear you. Let me turn your phone.
Wait. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. How does that sound for everybody? Feedback. I hear the feedback. Oh, God.
No.
What the hell? Why is this so hard?
I don't know.
I thought it would be easy to make a video and do an Instagram live. This is like going so long.
Do you want to just do it live and then we'll record this another night because it's not going to work otherwise?
Is there a way to actually record live? Like Instagram?
I need to talk to Pete. I need to talk to Pete about that. So it's easier just to have us on the live now. We'll talk about some of the questions and we get some of the questions from you guys, and then we'll record this say Saturday night after Zoom or before the Zoom. Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, I'll probably be working then, but
well, we'll find out when our schedules are free.
All right, we'll go ahead and just stop the video and then just do Instagram.
Right, I'm gonna stop recording, and then I'm gonna turn this off, and then we'll we're still on Zoom anyway, so we'll still see each other.
Okay.
Right, that's done now. All right, is that better?
Can everybody hear us and see us fine now? Is this better for everybody? There's a lot of noise outside. They're doing like freaking garden work. Right whenever they're like mowing stuff. So everything is going wrong today. God. Everything is going wrong. This is horrible. Oh man, how could this get? All right, well, here we are. I don't even know what to do now, because it's so loud outside. They're like, it's like right out my window. Oh my God, I'm gonna freaking fall apart.
Earphones.
I don't have any earphones. All my earphones are broken.
Right. Oh, anyway, I think it's story time. We'll do a story time. You can try and figure out which room's best for you. So, I'll tell you about this accident I had, since we're kind of struggling on everything. Self-esteem. So my hair is my thing. It's like you guys have probably seen it in any Zooms that you guys have been in. That my hair is my favorite thing about me, and I have problems with other people seeing it. So obviously I've dyed it and stuff, whatever. But basically I was in work a week or two back, and my manager's kids, basically one of them grabbed my ponytail. I had it in a pony kind of loop like that. One of them grabbed it, pulled back, and he had chewing gum in his hand. I had to get my hair cut. I think it took about 3 inches off it. I was upset. I nearly went into a depression session over it because my hair is everything. When I'm going racing, when I'm on the TV, like you see me walking the parade ring with TV on the TV, and you know it's me from my hair. And I went through stages of hats during racing. I just couldn't get over it. So I've gotten over it finally. Some of you guys actually have boosted, like in our Zooms or whatever. And I'm kind of learning that my hair isn't everything, but I like positive reinforcement. I think that's the way it worked for me. And it's something I'm going to get over. It's kind of my struggle, but it'd be grand. I don't know. I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with the length it is now. It's not short. It's not long, but it's not short either. It's kind of in the middle. but I was devastated. Like, I couldn't even, it was one of the hard days we had in Ireland. I know you got, like, the English people would know because they had the heat wave as well. Basically, it was one of those days where nothing was working. Chewing gum was, or the ice cube trick wasn't working, nothing. And I had to cut. I cut it myself. And to be fair, I watched a few videos on the good old YouTube. Didn't too bad of a job. I think I had to get a centimetre off or something like that off my hair when I went to the hairdresser and got everything done. I'm very happy with it now.
Okay, I think the noise finally stopped. I'm hoping it doesn't come back again. This is the worst live Instagram thing of all time. I am so embarrassed right now. Oh, God. And it's not even like my fault either. It's just like I'm just embarrassed by how this has turned out. But
Sure. Something had to go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just kind of the way it sucks living. That's why it sucks living in an apartment building, you know. They do that, and then having crappy phone. It sucks being poor, basically. That's the point I'm making. So we'll try to get back into questions. So yeah, self-esteem is still something that I struggle with, and I just try to work at it, but it gets really hard, and it's just a daily battle. That's basically what I was trying to say as far as that. I'm like totally distracted, so it's hard to answer questions, but yeah, self-esteem is difficult. I think it's just try to accept the things that you cannot change and try to recognize your talents and your skills.
Yeah. Okay, what else is there on my question list? What is the difference between dyslexia, dyspraxia, and dyscalculia? So I actually have both dyslexia and dyspraxia, but when I was younger, when I got diagnosed with the dyslexia in primary school, and it's for some reason, like even now sometimes I get my B's and D's, my 7s and 4s, and my 1s and 5s for some reason confused. But when I was growing up, the dyslexia is just numbers and letters you can get yourself confused with. So we didn't realize that the dyslexia was overpowering the dyspraxia, because like when I was growing up, I had different incidences. We didn't know it was to do with dyslexia, or we're thinking back now, it was like, oh, it must have been a dyspraxia. But we're kind of still struggling to figure out which is now. So when I got the dyspraxia is different. Dyspraxia is your coordination, your memory. What else is there? Your coordination, your memory. Doing so many tasks. I know it's like I'm going blank here. That's why I can't remember shit. Your fine motoring skills. Yeah.
Fine motor skills.
I know. Dyscalculia, because dyscalculia is to do with like maths and numbers only, as far as I know. I know I wasn't ever taught about that, but I think it's similar. It is similar, but it's also different at the same time. Am I right, Brendan?
I think so. Yeah, I think the main thing about dyslexia and dyscalculia is that they are specific kind of learning difficulties that only affect like dyslexia will affect reading and writing primarily, and dyscalculia will affect your math skills. And they can go, and dyspraxia I think is more broad because it affects like dyslexia and dyscalculia, as far as I know. I don't know much about like dyslexia, but it seems like they won't affect like your motor skills, or they won't affect like physical activities or things like that. But dyspraxia will, like to a significant degree. It'll affect your coordination and your balance, and so you'll struggle with things like sports and handwriting and stuff like that. And you might struggle with handwriting as with dyslexia, I think. But these things kind of can go hand in hand, but it doesn't necessarily mean if you have one, then you have to have the others. Like, for instance, I'm not dyslexic at all. I've always been pretty good with like, you know, reading and stuff like that. But I probably have dyscalculia. I don't know what you would call it, dyscalculate or something. But I've always just been really bad with numbers and really bad with words. And part of that is the dyspraxia, because I think with dyspraxia, what makes it similar is that it's hard to organize sort of sequences of things, like you know, like patterns or something like that. So like you might struggle with like prime numbers or something. Like numbers in a sequence might be hard to remember. I remember I did a play called Bingo, and I was playing a bingo caller in that show. And it was written into the script, like specific, like things I had to call out, like B47 or B something, you know. And I had, you know, and it was relevant, like to the show, like, you know, because it was people's cue lines. So I would have to call a certain number, and they would know. And because I couldn't remember like the order or the specific like numbers I had to call out, I had it written on like postcards, you know, that I just had, because the audience couldn't see my little table thing, so I just had it spread out all over, and I had the line, and then I had like the numbers. So that was sort of my ingenious way of remedying that problem, because I couldn't memorize like the actual numbers that I was supposed to call. But things like music theory can be really hard for dyspraxics to sort of mentally sort of understand. You know, I think what makes it similar to these other things is that your brain kind of like switches things up, you know. So like, you know, with dyslexia, it'll switch up letters. Dyscalculia will switch up like math and stuff. I don't really know a lot about like how the brain processes certain things, because I'm not, you know, a neurologist or anything. But yeah, the main difference is that they're not mutually exclusive. So you can have one, you can have the other, and you know, that's yeah. I lost my train of thought, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mainly has to do with letters. Dyscalculia mainly has to do with math and numbers, and dyspraxia is usually motor skills, coordination, and like thought processing and memory.
So I got a question. What are some of the differences between American resources for dyspraxia versus Irish/UK resources? So in England, you have a lot more. I'm hoping one of the English viewers will help in, because I don't quite know. What else is there? In Ireland, we don't have a lot, but we do have some. We have Dyspraxia Foundation Ireland, and that's also in the UK. I think they're buddy system thing. They do a lot of classes on, like, they do different groups across the country on different things. It could be like kids, say from 5 to 11. They could have book clubs. They have painting things. They could have things to help them get ready to go into secondary for the first time at the age of 12, 13, depending on your age. They have classes for older people, from like young adults to young adults, and another class for like the adults who have it. They'll have painting classes, they'll have computer skills, they'll do anything, they'll help you fit in wherever you need. We have in schools, it's not, it is recognized, you can get help, you can get the iPad. I actually have my iPad from secondary right here. I had all my books on this, I could type away, I had notes and stuff. I use this for everything. I also had, in my Leaving Cert exam, I was given this because I typed in my exam, so I got a wrist support strap thing for the laptop. They helped me with a room on my own. I was very lucky. In England, I know they do have groups. There is a group,
a magazine called Dyspraxia and Adulthood, or Dyspraxia Life magazine. They are brilliant. Yeah, they are brilliant. They have set up Zooms on a Wednesday night from 6:30 or 7:30 for an hour or two on a Wednesday, and then on Friday it's a later group from 8 or 9 till onwards. And you get to talk to people. They have added more groups in. They are trying to make dyspraxia, they're trying to pass a law about dyspraxia, try and get it enforced, because dyspraxia is not a known, it is known, but it's not a known.
It's not very recognized.
Yeah, but it's not really a known. It's
disability.
Learning disability. It's not a proper learning disability the way dyspraxia and dyslexia is. You wouldn't just get exempt from a class because you have dyspraxia. You're kind of made to do stuff. So they're trying to get that law brought in. They are trying to expand it otherwise, like the way me and Brandon are on our channels. They're so helpful. I don't know about America. I don't know if, obviously you don't quite know as much. You're still researching yourself. But I'm assuming they're, for the people that do know, in America, that they are trying to raise awareness. They're trying to help everyone else. They're trying to get them more recognized. And I say there is stuff, but just hidden away. You wouldn't find everything on the internet straight away, now would you?
Yeah. So the I think we call it the Dyspraxic circle, the Zoom meetings that we've been a part of. That's where you and I met. Yeah. And we've met some really great people, really quirky people, very unique individuals, including present company included. Yeah, they're very supportive and very encouraging. A few of them are on here right now watching us. So hi guys.
Hello.
And they've been really supportive of us. I mentioned that I was writing a book, so we actually had a few meetings where we went over different parts of my book so that I can get other perspectives from other dyspraxics, which has been really cool and really helpful for me when writing about my story. But the thing about dyspraxia awareness in America is one of the biggest problems that I've noticed is that there is a huge disparity between awareness in the UK and awareness in pretty much anywhere else in the world. But since I'm from the United States, I can only comment on how it's been for me as an American citizen. And obviously, because there's so little awareness in the United States, I was never able to receive an actual diagnosis. Whenever I was growing up, they were always trying to figure out what was going on with me. They were always trying to figure out what was wrong. And in the UK, these things are often picked up quite early on in kids. But I've met people from the UK who have the same experience I did, where people didn't know what was going on. People were not aware of it. And I think that's the big problem, is that there's not enough awareness so that there could be early intervention to help kids who are struggling with this. And often what ends up happening, the really unfortunate thing, and I'm definitely a prime example of this, is being misdiagnosed with disorders that you don't have, rather than having what is actually going on recognized. And what that does, if you're misdiagnosed, they focus on the wrong thing. They focus on a specific disorder that doesn't apply to you, but they feel like it does. So you end up getting labeled, and it just confuses you more, especially when you're like a child or an adolescent. It makes you more confused about your identity because you think, well, I don't really identify with these symptoms, and they don't really explain these. It only makes it makes a difficult thing worse, and it only affects your mental health even more so. So if people actually recognized what dyspraxia was and could assist early on, then it could help somebody later in life. And I was 17 whenever I first heard about dyspraxia, and it came at a time right before I moved to a new town. So it was a new community. So I had other things that I had to deal with. But when I moved to this like new school and this new community, I was trying to find a diagnosis. I was trying to find assistance because I thought if I got diagnosed, then I could at least tell people this is what I have. This is how it affects me. I could actually have it part of my record, and so I could actually say I have an official diagnosis, so I could tell employers that. And because what happens if you're self-diagnosed is that people think that you're a hypochondriac. They think that you're just saying you have it when you don't really have any expertise. And that's been my experience ever since then. I'm 26 now. It's been about 9 years since I discovered what dyspraxia was. And I'm still no closer in getting a diagnosis or an official, assessment on it. Because nobody that I knew, nobody that I met, they even had me speak to actual people who work in like neurology. Nobody knew what dyspraxia was. Nobody had ever heard about it. And the only thing, there's one group in the United States called the Dyspraxia USA Foundation. And so when I was about 19, I tried my best I tried to reach out to this organization and talk to people involved. I was largely ignored. I think they mainly focus on like children, and children with dyspraxia. They don't really seem to have much concern with adults living with dyspraxia. And I can only speak from my experiences, but it hasn't been a positive experience for me. And what the biggest thing for me, as far as the things that I've experienced with the dyspraxia and subsequently being misdiagnosed with the disorder that I didn't have, is the effect that it's had on my mental health. And I've struggled with depression and anxiety for many, many years. It's still an ongoing battle. And I wanted to, and just not knowing, a big part of that is not knowing what was actually going on for me. So I tried reaching out to this organization because I thought maybe I could help people, or maybe they could help me. And I was part of a group on Facebook for Dyspraxia USA Foundation. And they, and I posted something about mental health. I wanted to sort of start the conversation about mental health. And because I talked about mental health, and I asked people how dyspraxia affects mental health, I got banned from the page. And Warren Freed, the sort of the leader or whatever you call it of the foundation, I reached out to him to ask him why I got banned from the page for talking about mental health. I didn't even talk about anything. I just wanted to start a dialogue. And he blocked me on his personal Facebook account. So he offered me no explanation. So I've lost all faith in the Dyspraxia USA Foundation. I don't really have much respect for them after the way they treated me. And I'm sure that other people have similar experiences. But all in all, as far as I know I've been rambling, but in America, it's really difficult because there's not much awareness here. And that's one of the things I want to do, is make it more well known, because what I've noticed is there's a huge community of dyspraxics in the UK, and there are a lot of people who get diagnosed. So it's not just like it's not just a UK thing. It has to be something that people all over the world experience in higher numbers than we probably think, because if there's so many in the UK, then in the United States alone, there's got to be thousands and thousands of cases of people, and very few of them get recognized, and very few of them get diagnosed. And that, I think, is something that should be changed. I think that we should bring more awareness in the United States for people with dyspraxia, so that people don't have to go through what I went through and what so many others are probably still going through. Because I was lucky enough to hear about it when I was 17, but I'm sure there's people who are in their 30s, even 40s, go through their whole lives not understanding it and not knowing what is wrong with them, and or I don't want to say what's wrong with them, but what is the cause of their struggle. So that's been my experience. There's a huge difference between how it's represented in the UK, and it's even not there's still problems with how it's represented in the UK as well, but it's more recognized. And in Ireland too. Yeah, well, Ireland is part of the UK. right?
Don't start this. Don't start this. No, no. But I was lucky enough that I got diagnosed when I was 17, just turning 18, because we're trying to get it done for my leaving cert. In Ireland, we have a leaving cert. It's kind of a version of UK's GCSEs. I think it's kind of. I don't want to say it is. Don't hold me against it. It could be like your I'd say your SATs or something like that. What's your kind of mini exam over there?
Your what?
What's your
The
main exam, like exam type thing over there? Like
Oh,
where?
like at the end of high school and stuff. Like
Yeah,
yeah, the SATs. There's like the SATs and the ACTs. Don't ask me
yeah.
what the
Well, we
difference
like that.
is.
But
Yeah,
basically, we were trying to get it done for me, but because I wasn't, I went privately because they wouldn't accept me on the waiting list because I would have been over 18 to get it done. I went privately, and it was a quicker process, but also sometimes some parts of it they didn't have the resources to do it, or I frightened the living bejesus out of them by doing something wrong, and it was kind of funny, but yeah. Um, another um another difference is in the UK. I don't know how much. I don't ask me. They pay obviously like if you're not insured or recovered or something, you pay a good deal of money to get done. I had to get mine. I had to pay for my assessment, but if you go through NHS or whatever, what else, whatever the main company, healthcare systems, they do have it. They do have some resources to do that. They have people qualified to assess you, and as long as you're happy with waiting lengths, you can get it done on that. But I happened to get mine done privately, which was such a relief.
yeah. In America, because healthcare is privatized, and I know in the UK, for things like getting a diagnosis, was you still have to pay. But in the United States, you have to pay for everything, healthcare, pretty much out of pocket, unless you have really good insurance. And so few workplaces offer that kind of insurance. Um, but the main thing too is it's really bad like how little public awareness there is in the United States for dyspraxia. But the amount of medical professionals who have never heard of it, who are not aware of it, I think is the main issue. Because if we had more people who could actually assess it and diagnose it, um,
Yeah.
like you do with other things, then I think that it would just make it so much easier for people. And if we just like one of the things I want to do with my book is kind of bring dyspraxia to a wider audience, and to like the United States. And I don't know if that's gonna happen, but that's one thing I would like to do, because I want the public to be more conscious about what this is, and that this is a real thing, and it's a lot more common than
Yeah.
we think it is. It's just that people don't know. People might think, oh, I'm clumsy, I'm stupid, I'm whatever. That's not what it is. There's actually a reason for it, and I think that there wouldn't be as much confusion if we just recognized it, if we just understood it more. So
Mm.
it's really hard in the United States, and I'm hoping that changes in the future. I don't think the Dyspraxia USA Foundation is doing anything to help the situation. I think they kind of try to make it seem like they are, but nothing has changed. There's not any more awareness in the United States than there ever has been. Um,
Yeah.
and of course the rise of misdiagnosis, misdiagnoses, whatever you say, um, contributes to the problem too. Because there's things that people get diagnosed with, and it's actually dyspraxia. And that's happened to me. I know that somebody asked, and this is a question that's not going to take as long to answer, but they asked if dyspraxia affects one race or one gender more than the other. Um, yeah, it doesn't. Especially, I don't know about gender. I don't think there's much of a difference. I
Like I
think
think it
that
gets diagnosed quicker in men than it would be in women. But no, there's no in between with gender, race, anything. No.
Yeah.
I know a few people, and there's a few people on one of our groups that are of a different race. They are proud of their diagnosis, that if they have it, and they're happy enough to make other people aware. There's nothing standing in the way. No, it's not going to affect this one race.
There's someone on Instagram that goes by the Black Dyspraxic. Yeah, the dyspraxia circle, the community that we're kind of a part of with dyspraxia is pretty balanced as far as gender goes. There's probably about the same amount of women and men. So no, it doesn't make a difference what gender you are. I don't think, I mean, I don't know the statistics, but from the people that I've met with dyspraxia, it seems pretty even as far as the male to female ratio. All right, so let me see if I have another question. How has your family supported? So,
do you want to go first? Or will I go first?
I'll go first. So, it's a complicated thing for me because I was misdiagnosed with Asperger's when I was 11, and I don't have it. I've accepted that I don't have it. I've discovered, that the symptoms don't really apply to me and are actually a result of dyspraxia, ADHD, which I strongly believe I have as well, and social anxiety and lack of self-esteem. I mean, these things can contribute to symptoms that some people think might be related to like autism spectrum disorder. But Asperger's has become one of those things that I think it's overdiagnosed. But I was really young. I was 11, so I was about the age that I was basically just starting my adolescence, and so for a long time, my family believed, and I believed it too, just because that's what they said about me. I didn't really, but I always kind of in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I don't really identify with a lot of these symptoms. But my family in particular, like my parents, particularly my mom, she focused on that a lot, and that had a lot of negative consequences for me. But whenever I discovered dyspraxia, a lot of my family didn't really believe me. I think a lot of them kind of thought that I was just being a hypochondriac and just diagnosing myself with anything, and not really taking into account how strongly I believed in it. And so I didn't really talk about it much after a while. But now I told my parents about it, and they didn't really pay it much mind. But again, you have to keep in mind that we just made a huge transition in our lives whenever I discovered dyspraxia. So I was trying to tell them about it right after we moved to a new community. We were trying to get settled in. So they had other things to worry about besides what's going on with me. But there's a lot about it in my book, but my parents, there was never really any real conversation about it after that. But with my mom still believes that I'm on the spectrum. My dad and I don't really talk about it. But I doubt that he remembers me talking about dyspraxia. But two of my siblings believe me. They say that they believe that I'm not on the autism spectrum, and they believe that they believe me when they say I'm dyspraxic. So that's good. I at least have sort of the support from two of my siblings, from my sister and one of my brothers. But that doesn't really change a whole lot, because we don't really talk about things like that. That's the thing. We just don't. The way that we support each other just isn't like that. We don't get involved in things like that. So they accept it, but I don't think they really understand it. Because there's a lot of things like for instance, I don't drive and I don't ride a bike, and I think that it's hard for them to understand why that is, as opposed to me just not trying. I think that they still kind of like, well, you should do this, and like they don't really understand what dyspraxia does and how it affects me. And so that lack of understanding, even though they understand that I have it, they don't really understand enough about it to really support me the right way. And then of course the rest of my family is just not something that it's just not something that we talk about. So I guess I get minimal support, but it could be better for sure.
I'm quite the opposite. Everyone supports me. We joke about it. We have crack about it. My mommy knew, I think, since first year of secondary, because my home ec teacher happened to work in a school before my secondary, and they had a unit for everything. They had an autism unit. They had other learning disability unit, like units and all. And she saw the way I was holding stuff with my hands. Like when I hold this pen, you'll see like I would say I'm not it's kind of like I hold it like that. I don't quite put all the pressure on. I don't hold it like that. I don't really hold it like that. I kind of there. That's how I hold a pen. She kind of figured out the way I was writing, and then I was cooking one day in home ec, and I cut the top of my finger off because she had explained how to cut an onion. I know it's stupid. And she goes, don't, whatever you do, don't do this, and this, or you'll cut your finger. I was like, right, here we go. Did this, and this, cut the top of my finger off. Like, oh, miss, I reopened the wound, so I have a scar on top of my finger. Then I think that's when she recommended me to my mom to get the dyspraxia test done. I have to crack, like, if I'm tired and I just get annoyed or I trip over something, like, even earlier today, when me and Brennan were talking beforehand, I fell off the chair. I'm on a stool and it's 3 legs. It's not very stable for a dyspraxic. I think I have a bruise coming up on my leg. But like we have all these happy little accents with it, or if it's just one of those days, like my mom would know, my siblings would know. My family are very supportive. My dad, I don't think he realizes that I am, even though I keep saying it over and over and over. I don't think he really cares. My family, my extended family, no. I have one of my aunts is a teaching assistant. So she works in a school in a unit. And she's kind of asked me a few other questions and stuff.
My voice gone for talk. Friends.
Sorry, my sister.
We could get her input on it.
What?
I was like, we could get her take on the question.
Yeah. See, no, like we just don't care about it. She'll walk in. I'm surprised she didn't come over and say hi, which I kind of happy she didn't. She was out having fun. So we're starting to bring access the whole world now. The pubs are open slightly.
Well, I mean, it's good that when people know about it, I don't know what it is, my experience, because I do tell people about it and I do talk about it, but very few people, if any, nobody is really interested in learning about it. Like, I tell people, but in my experience, like, they just kind of like are like, oh, okay, and then they just kind of shrug it off. And then they get mad at me if like certain symptoms come up, like if I am clumsy or if I mess something up. And it's like if they understood anything about it, or they asked me questions, or they made an effort to try and understand and work and accommodate me,
they would know. They
would understand why that is, but they still act dumbfounded. Like, how come you can't do this? And it's like, I told you. Like, I can't. And it's similar in sort of my family, And it's what's really hard for me is that my relationship with my mother is still kind of complicated because feed has froze. I don't know.
On whose end?
Yeah. it's always been.
I have shitty Wi-Fi. I don't know about Brandon, but I definitely have shitty Wi-Fi, so I may tend to. My
Wi-Fi is not great, but I'm still connected.
I'm still connected. Could be him. It could be him.
That's what I'm thinking, because it's. I'm sorry. He's a good friend of mine. But he's been saying the black, black free. I think that it might be you, my friend. I hate to say it, but I don't know. I think it
Hey,
might be something.
Rosemary. Thank you, Rosemary. We can see, she can see us fine.
She's this may time out. Do you want to do another live thing and finish up the questions? I'm down for it if you are.
Oh, I just got a question earlier on relationships as well.
Okay.
That came up when I was talking.
Okay.
I've had a good serious relationship as long as a year long, but I don't know if we want to talk about it. Will we do it in our Zoom or what do you want to do?
Well, if you want to just, I don't know when this is going to time out, but because I know live streams only last about an hour, but we can start another one right after and continue answering questions.
Do you guys have many questions left, or do you just want to hear us talk and hear you guys put in? What do you guys want to do? I like the audience.
Yeah, because we still have other questions that we haven't gotten to yet because of all the.
But we'll probably, if we don't get them done today, we'll probably do them. We'll probably do them in our Zoom that we need to retry and do. And I've written down notes that we need to obviously be prepared with.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't know what my schedule is going to be like because I definitely, it's very I'm not going to be able to attend the Zoom on Friday or Saturday because of my new work schedule. But
yeah.
But if
sure,
you want to
figure it out anyway.
Yeah, we'll just do another live thing right after this and just try to finish up the questions and however long it lasts. But the whole family thing, just I repeat myself a lot, so I'm sorry if I just try to see if I get my whole point out. Is my family is somewhat supportive, but I think they got so much of their own stuff going on that it's hard to really focus on me. But I think in my mom's case, I think she's gotten so used to thinking of me in a certain light that it's it's too late for her to try and understand something else that she doesn't really know anything about. But I've made it very clear to that. But my extended family, I don't really talk to that much anymore. Once you get to a certain age, unless you're really close to them, you just don't really.
Yeah.
I don't really talk to them.
Big gatherings or something. That's really it.
Yeah, we don't, and we don't have those anymore. After my grandparents passed away, my family doesn't ever. My family doesn't ever get together anymore. I haven't seen my cousins since my grandmother's funeral. So but I've talked openly online on Facebook and stuff about dyspraxia, but it gets ignored. So I don't think there's a lot of people really care that much, and I think it's because they don't really understand it. But at least two of my siblings,
if it was as big as it is with dyslexia, it'd be a different
or
spectrum.
Or autism or something, if somebody says that you're autistic, then people focus on, they care
quicker.
Yeah, even though there's a lot of negative stigma to that as well. But I think when people hear dyspraxia, I think they just. Have you ever had somebody say "Are you sure you don't mean dyslexia?" If you tell them that happens to me. That's happened to me all the time.
In work today, actually, because we had owners in, and I was like, "Oh, sorry, I'm having a dyspraxia moment." And he goes, "No, you mean dyslexia." I was like, "No, it's something completely different." I was like, before my managers came over, I was like, "Look, I'm going. It's not dyslexia. It's dyspraxia. Goodbye."
Yeah, I know. It's I've had somebody actually say, "Are you sure that you don't mean dyslexia and you're just not saying it right, or you're not you're using it's no, it's a totally different thing." Yeah.
I think so too, Siobhan. I think that was a good movie though. I will definitely think about making
that, a live once a week. I think it turned out that the guy who Rain Man was based on he had like something else that wasn't autism. But I've never
Yeah,
seen the
but
movie.
the way, like, no, the way I've seen bits and pieces of it, but the way it was portrayed by Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise, you would actually think. But I also think
Yeah.
Gilbert,
Sorry, it's gonna